The warning men must hear right now. Thousands of men are walking through their lives in a trance, completely unaware that they are being played. They aren't losing because they are weak. They are losing because they are playing a game where the rules were hidden from them. You've felt it before, that nagging sensation that something is off, that the love you're receiving feels more like a performance or a transaction than a partnership. Most men are being dragged through psychological games that drain their bank accounts, shred their peace of mind, and eventually strip away their very identity. They find themselves walking on eggshells, constantly adjusting their behavior to avoid a conflict or to earn a scrap of validation that should have been given freely. They lose their dignity piece by piece, trading their self respect for the hope that things will finally go back to how they used to be. But hope is not a strategy, and silence is not a solution. They are failing because they lack the one weapon that changes everything: the truth. I am here to hand you the blueprint that shatters these illusions and shifts the power dynamic back into your hands permanently. This isn't about being cruel or becoming a manipulator yourself. It's about becoming aware. It's about pulling back the curtain so you can see exactly how the strings are being pulled. Once you see these patterns, the spell is broken. They can no longer dangle affection in front of you like a prize for a well behaved pet. They can no longer use your own empathy, your fears, or your emotions as leverage to keep you in line. When you understand the mechanics of the game, you stop being a participant and start becoming the authority. You move from a place of desperation to a place of absolute composure. You become untouchable because your value is no longer tied to someone else's fluctuating moods or hidden agendas. You are reclaiming the throne of your own life. Understand that this isn't just another video to passively watch and forget 5 minutes later. This is your definitive turning point. This is the moment you decide whether you want to keep being a pawn on someone else's chessboard or if you're ready to flip the board entirely. The information I'm about to share is the red pill for your relationships. It is the hard, cold reality that most people are too afraid to say out loud, but it's the only reality that will actually set you free. If you are tired of the confusion, the drama, and the feeling of being less than, then you are in the right place. You are about to undergo a mental upgrade that will make you unrecognizable to those who used to take you for granted. If you are ready to stop being a pawn and start being a king, I need you to commit right now. Hit that subscribe button and like this video to signal that you're locked in. But don't stop there. Action is the only thing that creates change. Go to the comments right now and type, "I refuse to be blind anymore." Consider that your official declaration to yourself and the world. By writing those words, you are drawing a line in the sand. You are announcing that the days of being managed and manipulated are over. You are awake now. The fog is lifting, and for the first time, you're going to see the world exactly as it is. Let's begin. 1. The myth of unconditional love. The first thing you need to do is burn the fairy tale. From the time you were a child, you've been fed a steady diet of movies, songs, and stories telling you that love is a magical, unbreakable force that transcends everything. You were taught that if you just find the one, she will love you through thick and thin, regardless of your bank account, your status, or your struggles. But here is the cold, hard truth that most people are too afraid to tell you. In the adult world, unconditional love is a myth. For a man, love is almost always tied to what he provides, how he carries himself, and the value he brings to the table. This isn't a cynical take, it's a survival guide. When you stop expecting unconditional devotion, you stop being shocked when the tone of your relationship changes the moment things get difficult. You have to realize that you are not loved for simply existing. You are loved for the strength, security, and consistency you represent. You've been told that she loves you for your soul or who you are deep down, but watch how quickly that narrative shifts when your resources take a hit. Have you ever noticed how her warmth seems to cool down when your career hits a plateau? Have you seen how her respect wanes when you stop leading with confidence? This happens because women are biologically and psychologically wired to seek security, stability, and protection. It is an instinctual drive for survival. When you are at your peak, when the money is flowing, the confidence is high, and the future looks bright, her love shines because she feels safe. But when those pillars start to crumble, her behavior shifts because her sense of security is threatened. This doesn't make her a villain, it makes her human. The danger isn't in her nature, the danger is in your blindness to it. If you believe her love is an eternal flame that doesn't need fuel, you will eventually find yourself sitting in the dark, wondering where the fire went. The greatest mistake most men make is pouring every ounce of their energy, time, and resources into a woman under the false assumption that sacrifice creates a debt of loyalty. You think that if you give enough, if you work yourself to the bone, or if you tolerate enough disrespect, you are earning an insurance policy against betrayal. But reality doesn't work on a rewards program. Sacrifice does not guarantee reciprocity. In fact, giving too much without requiring anything in return often has the opposite effect. It lowers your value in her eyes. When you give until you are drained, you aren't seen as a hero. You are seen as a resource that has been tapped out. You end up looking around, exhausted and broken, asking, why wasn't my loyalty enough? It wasn't enough because loyalty without boundaries is just a doormat. You cannot buy unconditional love with total self sacrifice. It is time to stop giving blindly and start being an observer of reality. You need to stop judging the quality of your relationship by how she treats you when you're winning. Anyone can be a great partner when the sun is shining and the bills are paid. The real test, the only test that matters, is how she treats you when you are at your lowest. Does she step up and support you, or does she start looking for the exit? If her affection fluctuates based on the size of your wallet, the height of your status, or the level of your physical energy, then you have your answer. That is not a partner. That is a fair weather fan. You have to stop being a servant to the fantasy of what you want her to be and start dealing with the woman she actually is. Moving forward, you must lead with a new mindset. Reciprocity is the requirement for entry. You are no longer writing blank checks of devotion. You stop being the man who gives everything for nothing and start being the man who invests where there is a return. This shift changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. When you require reciprocity, you signal that your time, your effort, and your love have a high price tag. You stop being a desperate beggar for affection and start being a man of high value who knows exactly what he's worth. By acknowledging that love is conditional, you gain the power to set those conditions. You protect your peace, you guard your resources, and you ensure that the woman by your side is there for you, not just for the lifestyle you provide. Stop living for a fairy tale that doesn't exist and start mastering the reality that does. 2. The currency of attention. Your attention is not just a casual gesture, it is the most valuable currency you possess. It is the fuel that drives attraction, the light that validates her presence, and the energy that dictates your standing in any relationship. Yet, most men treat their attention like junk mail. They blast it out to everyone, all the time, without a second thought. They drown women in a flood of good morning texts, constant likes on social media, and an open door policy of 24/7 availability. They do this under the mistaken belief that they are showing interest or building a connection, but in reality, they are committed to a strategy that actively kills their value. You have to understand a fundamental law of human nature. Abundance kills desire. When something is everywhere, it becomes worth nothing. If you are always there, always replying within seconds, and always ready to drop your plans at the snap of a finger, You aren't being romantic, you're being predictable. You become a background noise in her life, a permanent and free utility that she never has to work for, never has to wonder about, and never has to miss. The moment you make yourself an unlimited resource, you lose all your leverage. Think about it. Why would she invest energy into winning you over when she already has 100% of you for zero effort? When you overinvest your attention, you remove the element of the challenge. You've already shown your cards, and you've shown that your time has no cost. By being constantly available, you are essentially telling her that you have nothing better to do, that your goals, your passions, and your social life are all secondary to her. This doesn't make her feel special. It makes her feel bored. She doesn't have to wonder, is he thinking about me? Or what is he up to tonight? Because you've already told her through your constant pings and presence. You've removed the mystery, and without mystery, the spark of attraction simply cannot survive. You aren't a man she's chasing, you're a man she's managing. This is where you must learn that silence is not a void, it is a power move. When you pull back and stop being the source of constant validation, the dynamic shifts instantly. Curiosity is the strongest driver of attraction, and curiosity only grows in the space you leave behind. When the steady stream of your attention dries up, she is forced to fill that silence with her own thoughts about you. She starts to ask herself, where did he go? Why hasn't he reached out? Who is he with right now? This shift creates a vacuum that she feels the need to fill. By creating rarity, you are creating value. You want your presence to be an event, not a habit. When you do choose to give her your time, it should feel like a reward for her own investment, not a guaranteed right. Make your compliments rare so they actually carry weight. Make your time feel like a gift that she has to earn, rather than a commodity she can take for granted whenever she's bored. Stop chasing external validation and finally recognize that your attention is the prize she should be working for. Every hour you spend staring at your phone waiting for a reply is an hour you could have spent in the gym, sharpening your mind, or building your empire. When you take that massive amount of energy you used to waste on chasing and redirect it into your own body, your bank account, and your personal growth, something incredible happens. You become magnetic. A man who is genuinely busy building a life he's proud of doesn't have the time to be a constant text buddy. His scarcity is real, not a game, and women sense that. They sense a man who has options and a man who values himself too much to beg for a woman's time. The choice is yours. You can continue to be the man who chases, who begs, and who eventually becomes a nuisance that gets left on read or ghosted. Or you can be the man who understands the power of his own currency. You can be the man who invests in himself first, making his attention so rare and so valuable that women are the ones competing to get a piece of it. Stop devaluing yourself by being too easy to find. Protect your time, guard your energy, and watch how quickly the world starts to treat you differently when they realize your attention is no longer free. A man who builds himself is a leader. A man who chases is just a follower hoping for a lead. Turn your focus inward, build your value, and let the world come to you. 3. Master your emotional control. Emotional control is the invisible armor that every man must wear if he ever hopes to be respected. You need to understand this clearly. A man who cannot master his own internal state is nothing more than a puppet, and he is handing the strings to anyone who knows how to pull them. In the world of relationships, your reactions are your greatest liability. If a woman realizes that giving you the silent treatment makes you spiral into a panic, she now has a weapon she can use whenever she wants to punish you or get her way. If she sees that your jealousy makes you reckless and irrational, she will instinctively know how to trigger that insecurity to keep you off balance. Every time you explode in anger, Every time you plead for an explanation, and every time you beg for her not to leave, you are handing her the remote control to your life. You are showing her exactly where your buttons are, and you are proving that you are not the one in charge of yourself. When you react emotionally to every test, you aren't showing passion, you are showing weakness. You are telegraphing to the world that you are easily manipulated, easily broken, and easily managed. True strength is not about having muscles or a loud voice. It is about remaining absolutely grounded when the storm is raging around you. You have to become the mountain that doesn't move just because the wind is blowing. When her mood swings start, when the drama intensifies, or when the threats to walk away are thrown at you, your composure must remain unshaken. This is the moment where the games stop working. The second she realizes that her tactics no longer provoke a reaction from you, she loses her leverage. Most men think they need to win an argument by being louder or more aggressive, but the real win is being so centered that the argument has nothing to feed on. Emotional control doesn't mean becoming a cold, unfeeling robot or suppressing your humanity. It means creating a gap between what you feel and what you do. It means acknowledging the flash of anger or the sting of anxiety, but refusing to let those fleeting feelings dictate your movements. You are the captain of the ship, and you do not let the waves tell you which way to steer. Imagine the power shift that occurs when you refuse to play the role she expects you to play. If she storms out of the room expecting you to chase after her and apologize, and instead you stay exactly where you are, focus on your own peace, you have just rewritten the script. If she tries to bait you into a senseless argument to see if she can rattle you, and you respond with calm, logical steadiness, you have taken the wind out of her sails. When you refuse to be moved like a pawn on a chessboard, you force the people around you to meet you on a higher level of maturity. You are setting a standard for how you will be treated, not by what you say, but by what you refuse to tolerate emotionally. You are communicating that your peace of mind is not for sale and it cannot be bought with drama. This level of self mastery is the ultimate form of respect. It signals that you are a man of high value who is in total command of his environment. When you stop being reactive, you become the one who sets the rhythm of the relationship. Either she will recognize your strength and rise to meet your level of maturity, or she will realize she can no longer control you and she will exit your life. Either outcome is a victory for you. If she stays because she respects the man you have become, a man who cannot be bullied or manipulated. If she leaves because her games have no power here, and you are free to find someone who values stability over chaos. In both scenarios, you keep your dignity, you keep your pride, and you keep your power. Master your emotions, and you master your destiny. Fail to do so, and you will forever be at the mercy of someone else's whims. 4. The reality of options. The greatest trap a man can fall into is the scarcity mindset, the paralyzing belief that the woman in front of him is the only one who will ever love him, understand him, or be attracted to him. This lie is the father of all desperation. When you believe she is your last and only hope for happiness, you become a prisoner of your own fear. This fear forces you to stay in toxic situations, to tolerate blatant disrespect, and to lower your standards until they are non existent, all just to keep a seat at a table where you aren't even being served. You become a man who negotiates for crumbs of affection because you think the alternative is a lifetime of loneliness. But you need to wake up to the objective truth. There are billions of people on this planet. The idea that there is only one person capable of connecting with you is not romantic. It is a mental cage that keeps you small and controllable. Desperation is a scent that people can smell from a mile away, and nothing kills attraction faster than the energy of a man who feels he has nowhere else to go. You must understand the fundamental difference in how options are generated. In the modern world, a woman's options are often given to her by society, social media, and biology. She can simply exist and receive attention. However, for a man, options are not a gift, they are a harvest. They are built through sweat, discipline, and relentless self improvement. You create your own abundance by what you do when no one is watching. You build options in the gym by sculpting a body that commands respect. You build options in your career by becoming financially independent and competent. You build options through your character by developing the social skills, the wit, and the confidence of a leader. A man who has spent years building himself into a high value individual doesn't have to worry about scarcity because he has become a rare commodity. When you invest in yourself, you are literally manufacturing your own freedom. You are shifting from a beggar who hopes to be chosen to a king who has the power to choose. A man with options is a man who can never be manipulated. When you know deep in your soul that there are other high quality women who would value your time, respect your boundaries, and appreciate your presence, your entire vibe changes. You stop being the guy who argues for hours trying to convince a woman to treat him right. Instead, you become the man who simply observes behavior. If she treats you like an option, you don't get angry and you don't beg for more. You simply recognize that the situation no longer serves you and you move on. This isn't about being a jerk, being arrogant, or playing player games. It is about having the quiet, unshakable confidence of a man who knows his own worth. When you are unafraid to walk away, you hold the ultimate power in any negotiation. You are no longer clinging out of fear, you are staying out of choice. This walkaway power is the most magnetic energy a man can possess. Women can instinctively sense when a man is not desperate. They sense that he has a life full of purpose, goals, and other people who value him. Ironically, the less you need her to stay, the more she will want to be a part of your world. People are drawn to strength, and there is no greater strength than a man who is whole all by himself. By building yourself until you have genuine choices, you ensure that you will never again be trapped in a relationship that drains your soul or insults your intelligence. You stop settling for good enough and start requiring excellence. Build your empire, sharpen your mind, and take care of your temple. When you do that, you aren't just looking for options, you are becoming the option. And once you reach that level, you will never have to beg for a place at any table ever again. You'll be too busy building your own.